This video has been prepared to show the disassembling, reassembling, and adjusting procedures for the power units of the Yamaha V4, V6 outboard engines. As well, the appropriate special tools usages will be disclosed. There will be a time counter pictured on the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Simply find the specific location in the presentation you require by utilizing the reference index which comes with the video. For reliable disassembly work, check that the required tools and measuring equipment are all present. We recommend the use of Yamaha's original special tools to assure efficient, reliable work. We recommend you use the repair stand available from Yamaha to efficiently carry out the disassembly and reassembly of the power unit. The outboard motor should be secured to the repair stand with the bolts and nuts through the transom bracket. Remove electrical parts from the starboard side. Remove the rectifier regulator. Remove the lead wire coupler and the ground. Then remove the two bolts. Remove the rectifier regulator together with the cover. Remove the shift rod lever and the solenoid lead wire joint. Remove the choke link rod on the carburetor side. Remove the CDI unit cover at the rear of the engine. Remove the coupler from the CDI unit, spark plug caps, and the ground lead from the exhaust cover. Remove the CDI unit and the ignition coil together with the bracket. Further remove the cooling water bypass hose and the pilot water hose. Move to the port side and remove the battery cable, power trim, and tilt wires, and power trim and tilt and starter relay wires. Now, remove the starter relay and the power trim and tilt relay together with the bracket. Remove the two bolts holding the shift rod bracket. Remove these screws and remove the silencer. At this time, remove the oil tank air breather hose and the fuel circulation hose attached to the silencer. Some models utilize silencers which separate into two pieces. Remove the flywheel cover, then remove the flywheel magneto. Loosen the flywheel nut by using the special tool and socket wrench. Mount the flywheel puller so that the bottom will be parallel with the flywheel. To remove the flywheel magneto, mount the special tool and tighten the eye bolt. Apply impact to the eye bolt with a hammer to remove the flywheel from the taper fitting design. Remove the flywheel. Remove the stator coil assembly and the pulsar coils in this order. Before removing the power unit from the upper case, Remove the 2 apron mounting bolts. And remove the apron. Remove the 2 inner bolts and 2 outer bolts from the bottom cowling. And remove the rear apron section. Now you can remove the 10 bolts and 2 nuts securing the engine to the bottom cowling. After removing the bolts and nuts, lift the engine upwards. Keeping the power unit balanced, lift it while carefully applying force under the carburetor with a wooden stick to remove the adherence of the upper casing gasket without damaging the bottom cowling. The power unit can also be lifted in this way. When placing the power unit on the workbench, be careful to keep the power unit stable. Remove the fuel filter nut and fuel pump mounting bolts. Remove the 12 nuts mounting the carburetors. Remove the fuel filter, fuel pump, and carburetor together. For the oil injection model, remove the oil tank delivery hose on the oil pump side. When doing this, pinch the hose off to prevent oil from flowing out. Remove the oil tank. Remove the starter motor. Remove the oil pump delivery pipe at the intake manifold side and remove the oil pump together with the delivery pipes. At this time, mark the delivery pipe with cylinder number to facilitate assembly. Remove the parts of the timing advance control system. Remove the bolts and remove the timing advance control lever together with the throttle cam. Remove the 2 bolts and remove the choke solenoid. This completes the removal of all the engine's outer parts. You are now ready to begin the disassembly of the cylinder block. Remove the fuel recirculation pipes located on the cylinder block side. At this time, mark the cylinder number on the fuel recirculation pipe for easy and correct reassembly procedures. Remove the bolts and remove the intake manifold. After removing the spark plugs, remove the bolts and thermostat cover. Remove the thermostat. Remove the cylinder head cover's 15 bolts. With screwdrivers, evenly apply force between the cylinder head cover's opposing flanged appendages and the cylinder head. Then remove the cylinder head cover. Remove the thermo switch sensor. Remove the 14 cylinder head bolts indicated by the arrows. After removing the cylinder head, enter the cylinder's number on the piston's head. Remove the other cylinder head in the same manner. If removing the exhaust cover, remove these bolts indicated by the arrows. Insert screwdrivers into the exhaust outer cover's flanged appendages and evenly apply force to remove the cover. After removing the outer cover, remove the inner cover in the same manner. Remove the bearing housing mounting bolts. Remove the oil seal housing mounting bolts. To remove the crankcase, remove these bolts indicated by the arrows. Lift off the crankcase, keeping it level so as to prevent damaging the crankshaft seal rings. Extreme care should be taken to avoid cutting yourself on the machine parts, which may have sharp edges. When removing the piston from the cylinder block, mark the joint between the connecting rod cap and the connecting rod so that all mating parts can be kept together for reassembling. Alternately loosen the torque of the connecting rod bolts. Remove the connecting rod cap and the big end bearing. Carefully slide out the piston and the connecting rod from the cylinder block. Enter the cylinder's number on each of the removed piston assemblies. Keep the mating connecting rod caps and big end bearings together as a set. Slightly lift the crankshaft. Give a light shock to the outer race of the center bearings, then remove the crankshaft assembly from the cylinder block. Remove the crank center bearing and the crank seal rings from the crankshaft. For smooth reassembly, place the parts in the order in which they were removed. To remove the crank lower bearing from the crankshaft, remove the circlip, then remove by using the bearing puller. For the oil injection model, remove the drive gear in the same manner. The drive gear is made of brass. Carefully remove the gear, or gear teeth may be chipped or broken. Remove the clips from both sides of the piston pin holes. Disassemble the piston and piston pin from the connecting rod. To remove the upper bearing from the bearing housing, first remove the oil seal. Then, using the special tool, remove the bearing with a hydraulic press. After removing these screws from the intake manifold, remove the reed valve assembly. Be careful of dust and moisture around the removed reed valve assembly. Particularly use care not to expose it to direct sunlight. This completes the power unit disassembly operation. Put each of the disassembled parts in order, then clean and inspect them. Replace any damaged part or part measured out of specification. For the inspection method and specification for each part, refer to the Service Manual's Inspection section. For appropriate assembly, use all new gaskets, oil seals, and O-rings. When reassembling, also note the orientation and correct position of each part. Lubricate all moving parts and bearings with two-stroke engine oil. First, begin with the assembly of the piston. To assemble the piston rings, be sure that the piston ring's end gap faces the piston head. Align the gap with this locator pin. When assembling the piston rings, mount the second ring and top ring in this order. To assemble the piston and connecting rod, first align the Yamaha mark on the connecting rod with the up mark on the piston's head. Then install the small end bearing in the small end of the connecting rod and set the two washers in the correct direction. To assemble the roller bearing into the crank's upper bearing housing, use the special tool and press fit with a hydraulic press. Be sure the bearing's manufacturer's mark faces up. The bearing outer race should be slightly coated with grease for easy press fitting. Next, install the oil seal. After installing the oil seal, apply Yamaha's Grease A to the oil seal lip. And lubricate the bearing with two-stroke engine oil. Install the two oil seals into the crank's lower oil seal housing individually. Be sure they face in the correct direction. To tap in the oil seal, use a tool with a diameter slightly smaller than the outside diameter of the oil seal. After installing, apply Grease A to the oil seal inner lip. To assemble the lower bearing to the crankshaft, carefully press the oil pump's drive gear with oil injection models, then press fit the lower bearing with the bearing's manufacturer's mark up by using the hydraulic press. And install the circlip. Now, assemble the crank seal rings and the center bearing. Place the center bearing with the location pinhole facing down and secure it with a retainer ring. Assemble the piston into the cylinder block. Install the appropriate pistons with the S mark on the starboard side and the pistons with the P mark on the port side cylinders. Be sure the up mark is facing the flywheel. Apply two-cycle engine oil to the piston rings, piston periphery, and cylinder inner wall. Further check that the piston ring's end gap is at the locator pin position. Install the piston in the cylinder by using the piston ring compressor. When assembling the pistons to the crankshaft and the engine block is turned with the crankshaft surface upward, take care that the pistons don't slide out and fall before being connected to the crankshaft. Align the center bearing's location pinhole with the pin on the cylinder block. Assemble the crankshaft with the seal ring end gaps aligned at the upper surface. Align the arrow mark of the crank's upper bearing housing in the direction of the exhaust cover. Also, align the two projections on the oil seal housing with the exhaust cover side. Assemble the 6 connecting rods to the crankshaft. Tighten each bolt twice by using the torque wrench. Both bolts should be tightened evenly by each cylinders. First, tighten them to the specified torque. Check that the connecting rod cap end is aligned with the connecting rod end with your fingernail. If aligned, tighten the bolts to the specified rated torque. Loosen them a half turn. Now retighten them to the specified torque once again. Finally, apply two-stroke engine oil to the bearings and seal rings and check that the crankshaft turns smoothly. Install the crankcase. Remove oil and dirt from the crankcase contact surface with clean rags. Thinly spread the gasket maker over the contact surface of the cylinder block and install the crankcase while paying attention to the location pins. Install the crankcase while carefully holding it level. Tighten the 12 M8 bolts located on the outside surface area and the 8 M10 bolts located on the inside in a two-step order as shown. Mount these 3 bolts with painted coated hexagon heads on the outside of the crankcase. Tighten the bearing housing bolts in a clockwise order. Tighten the lower oil seal housing bolts with the specified torque in a diagonally crossed pattern. Install the cylinder head. As before, tighten the 14 bolts with the specified torque in a two-step order as shown. Install the thermo switch and mount the cylinder head cover. After mounting the thermostat and thermostat cover, tighten the bolt to the specified torque as found stamped on the cylinder head cover. Next, assemble the intake manifold. After assembling the 6 reed valves to the intake manifold, install the manifold to the crankcase. Tighten the 16 bolts to the specified torque in a two-step sequence as shown. Connect the fuel recirculation pipes. On the starboard side, install the 3 pipes. On the port side, lay the pipes as shown. On the starboard side, assemble the magnet control lever, throttle control cam, and choke solenoid. On the port side, mount the oil injection pump and delivery pipes. Lay the pipes as shown. Mount the starter motor. The oil tank. The carburetor, fuel filter, and fuel pump. Mount the power unit onto the upper casing. Place a new gasket and install the location pins. Apply grease to the splines of the drive shaft. Lift the power unit while holding it level. Slowly lower the power unit while ensuring that the mating parts properly join together. Slightly turn the flywheel in each direction until the crankshaft and driveshaft splines align. Tighten the 6 longer bolts, 4 shorter bolts, and 2 nuts to the specified torque. Next, install the rear apron and tighten the 4 bolts. Then install the front apron and tighten the 2 bolts which hold it in place. Now install the pulsar coil unit. Apply a thin coat of anti-seize grease around the retainer base. Set the control lever arm to the correct position, install and tighten the 3 screws. Install the stator coil. Install the woodruff key in the crankshaft. Check that the key is reliably put in the slot. Fit the key into the crankshaft's keyway. Check and make sure the key has not been dislodged after the flywheel's installation. Using the special tool, secure the flywheel magnet and tighten the nut to the specified torque. On the port side, install the shift rod bracket. Install the starter and power trim and tilt relay bracket. Attach the battery cable, power trim and tilt relay cord, and starter relay cord. At the rear, install the ground wire and pilot and outlet water hoses. Install the CDI unit and ignition coil together with the bracket. Connect the coupler. Put the cover in place. On the starboard side, install the shift rod lever and the solenoid lead wire joint. Connect the choke link rod. Install the rectifier regulator assembly. Connect the lead wire coupler and ground wire. This completes the engine reassembly. Once again, check the piping and wiring for misconnections. Adjust the carburetor linkages. First, remove the throttle control link. Then remove the oil injection control link. Loosen the idle adjust screw. Record the number of turns out until the idle adjust screw is not contacting the throttle arm stopper. Then, loosen the upper and lower carburetor throttle valve securing screws by turning clockwise. Hold the linkage downwards to check that all the upper, middle, and lower carburetor throttle valves are closed completely. Tighten the 2 screws on the upper and lower carburetor by turning counterclockwise, while also supporting the linkage connections. Tighten the idle adjust screw on the middle carburetor. This time, after the screw end touches the throttle arm stopper, further retighten the adjust screw by your previously recorded removal count of turns. Adjust the stopper lengths of the timing advance control lever. First, adjust the full advance adjust screw to the specified length found in the service manual. Then adjust the full retard adjust screw to its specified length. Adjust the length of the 2 control links. Adjust this timing control link's length to specification as well. Adjust the throttle cam control link to its specified length. After finishing these adjustments, adjust the ignition timing. Set the dial gauge into the number 1 cylinder. While slowly turning the flywheel clockwise, find the top dead center position of the piston. Then, check to see if the timing plate is aligned with the timing mark top dead center found on the flywheel. If not, align the timing plate's pointer with the top dead center mark. Adjust the full advanced ignition timing. Turn the flywheel counterclockwise to align the mark on the flywheel with the timing plate's pointer. Push the magnet control lever until it touches the full advance stopper. Check that the flywheel's underside mark is aligned with the pulsar assembly arm end mark. If not, adjust the high-speed stopper bolt. Then, adjust the full retard ignition timing. In the same manner as at full advance timing, adjust the flywheel for the specified timing degree angle. Move the magnet control lever toward the full retard side until it touches the low-speed stopper. Check that the flywheel's underside mark is aligned with the pulsar assembly arm end mark. If not, adjust the low-speed stopper bolt. Adjust the pickup timing for the carburetor. First, check that the mark on the throttle cam is aligned with the throttle roller's center. If not, adjust by loosening the throttle roller adjust screw. Then retighten after aligning. In the same manner as on the full retard timing procedures, adjust the pickup ignition timing. Adjust to the specified length for the throttle cam control link. and reattach the joint connector. Adjust the choke solenoid. Loosen the choke solenoid mounting bolt. Align the grooved mark on the circumference of the solenoid's plunger with the solenoid coil's end surface and retighten the mounting bolt. Adjust the oil injection system. Lay a rag under the pump to soak up dripping oil and purge the air until air bubbles no longer come out by loosening the air bleed screw. As done before, loosen the idle adjust screw. Record the number of turns out after the idle adjust screw's end leaves the throttle arm stopper. While holding the oil injection pump lever at the full retard position, loosen the lock nut. And adjust the control link's length to the correct specification and retighten the lock nut. Retighten the idle adjust screw. After the screw end touches the throttle arm stopper, further tighten the adjust screw by your previously recorded number of turns. This completes the major required adjustments. We have explained the disassembly and reassembly procedures and adjustments for the Yamaha V6 outboard motors. For information about the detailed service data, such as tightening torques and adjustment values, please see the separately available service manual or service data book. Many of the disassembly and reassembly procedures and adjustments for the V4 type are common to those for the V6 type, so this video can also be used for working on the V4 type outboard motor. We hope this video will be able to improve and assist your service skills for becoming a qualified Yamaha technician. Thank you for watching this video.